The Godot team and contributors have been cooking again since 4.5, and they made a new 4.6 release for Godot with a lot of cool things. As always, I'm sharing with you the features I find the most interesting, and you can find the full list of changes in the blog post linked in the description. Let's start strong with a cool 3D feature that is finally back, IK, or inverse kinematics. This allows bones to move and orient themselves to follow a target. The modifier stack for skeletons was introduced in Godot 4 but removed, until now thanks to Tokagelt's lab, which made some impressive changes, adding a bunch of classes to handle IK. You can read the PR for more details, but you now have access to 2-bone IK 3D, chain IK 3D, spline IK 3D, iterate IK 3D, which can use Fabric, CCD IK, and Jacobian IK. There's a demo project linked in the PR which allows you to give it a go, and thanks to ChickenCrafty2535 on Reddit, we already have a good example of how it can look like in a game. Glow has received some love in this new release, and there's two important things. First, it's now defaulting to screen mode and is applied before the tone mapping for mobile and forward plus. This should improve performance a little bit and should look a little bit better and smoother. Second, Glow has been optimized in the mobile renderer, improving performances upwards of 2 times on all tested devices. Before moving on to the next feature, I want to thank today's sponsor boot.dev for making this video possible. If you're learning to code and you're into game dev, there's a good chance you've hit that wall where learning on your own can be hard. You get stuck and you just quit. That's when boot.dev enters the chat. They teach backend development from the ground up using Python, SQL, and Go, but the big difference is how you learn. You're not just watching videos, you're actually solving problems, grinding challenges, kind of like a game. You earn XP, level up, unlock achievements, and even fight bosses while you learn. Isn't that cool? Learning programming first is the best way to get started in game development, and it's a great skill to have to find well-paying jobs. You'll find lots of different courses and challenges, and some even teach you how to build small games with Pygame. All the content is free to read and watch, and you can try interactive demos before paying. But there's no excuse to not give it a go. And if you want to go further, the paid membership unlocks interactive features, assistance, progress tracking, and game mechanics. Plus, there's a 30-day refund if it's not your thing. If you want to get better at programming in a way that doesn't feel soul-crushing but is fun and rewarding, go to boot.dev and use my code Mr. Elliptic to get 25% off your entire first year on the annual plan. Thanks to boot.dev for sponsoring the video, and let's get back to Godot 4.6. If you've ever tried to profile your game to understand what is slow, you know the pain. Even though the newest profiler in Godot 4 is much better, it's still lacking in comparison to tools like Tracy. Good news though, it's now much easier to use those tools with Godot. Thanks to Ivorforce, the engine is now ready to be profiled. Before that, you had to modify the engine to add the right tracking and then recompile the engine. This should now be way easier and give access to incredible tools to profile your games very precisely. It currently supports Tracy, Perfetto, and Apple Instruments signposts. The profiling logic is integrated and the build system is set up so you only have to compile Godot from source. Continuing with cool but advanced features, the foundation for building the engine as a standalone library have been laid out. This means people will be able to use Godot as libGodot for projects that requires the use of a library. This could be super useful for people wanting to use the rendering or physics capabilities of Godot in another projects or tool, for example. From what I understand, this is only the foundations for now, and I don't think it's completely usable yet. If you know more about this, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. You've probably seen it as it sparked quite a lot of discussions. Godot now comes with a new default theme that should be more modern and space efficient. Before you start typing in anger, you can revert to the old theme by choosing Classic under the editor theme settings. Passive Start made the theme a while ago and shared it online. I've personally been using it for a while with my Godot 4 projects, and I'm pretty happy with it. PR allows the theme to be even more integrated and is becoming the default face of Godot. I'm curious to know what you think about it. Have you tried it? Do you like it? Tell us more in the comments. Continuing with editor changes, let's do a quick fire with a bunch of small new features for the editor. The bottom docks are now part of the docking system. This means all the bottom docks can now be moved to the sides. It's still a work in progress, so expect some changes in future versions. The 3D editor now shows the current delta angle when rotating. This means it shows you how much rotation you have been applying. Still in 3D, you can now navigate with orbit snapping, allowing you to stop at predefined angles when orbiting. 2D people rejoice, you can now rotate scene tiles in Tilemap layer. It was not possible before, so it's very welcome for people using time-lapse. Docks now open when hovered during dragging, allowing to start dragging whatever and having the right dock open for you so you can drop your data. Working with resources can be painful, especially when creating them, but thankfully there's a new hotkey to make it quicker. Alt-Shift-R now allows to open the new resource dialog menu. Sometimes life is just too fast and you need to slow down. It's now easier than ever with game speed controls directly available on the embedded game window. No need to do custom shortcuts in your game, you can slow down or speed up the game as you're playing it in the editor. Awesome. There's now a link icon next to resources, showing you when resources are linked. This will be incredibly useful to avoid editing resources affecting a bunch of other scenes. Good UX is found in simple but effective interactions, and this one is a good example of that. You can now click and drag on flags to set or unset them. I love small quality of life features like this one. It's now possible to edit groups on multiple nodes. You select the nodes you want, head over to the group section, and edit them all at once. Neat. The quick open dialog is something I use all the time, and now that it has thumbnails, it's even better. But it gets even better than that. Can you believe it? You can now preview the changes as you click on resources without committing yet. And once you double click it, the change is applied. The file part of errors and warnings in the output panel is now clickable. This means if you have an error in a script, no need to struggle searching for the file, you can just click on it and Godot will browse and open it. Script names are displayed at the top when editing scripts. Apparently it was already there, but just hidden and never shown. That's fun. And the last editor tweak I want to showcase is the ObjectDB profiling tool. It's a new tab in the debug menu to show a snapshot of all the objects in a running game. It allows a bunch of stuff, most notably get a summary, what classes, objects, nodes, and ref counted are in use, and finally a JSON view. You can also see previous snapshots and even compare them with a diff tool included in the diff menu. Pretty impressive. There's a bunch of changes to GDScript, but I want to highlight two of them. The string placeholders are now highlighted in your strings. Think of the %s or %d that you use to format values into strings. The second cool thing is the step out button in the debugger. This means that you can ignore the rest of the steps in a function and directly continue the debugging outside of it. Really useful when you click step in by mistake instead of step over and you enter a function while debugging. Moving on to the UI, we have a cool modification of the focus state when using the mouse. It's now possible to not grab focus when clicking with the mouse. This allows to have a clear focus state when using keyboard or gamepad, but not when using the mouse. This comes with modifications to grab focus and has focus, so you can know if it's visible focus or not. A very welcomed and exciting addition to control node is pivot offset ratio. This allows to define the pivot offset of a node as a ratio between 0 and 1. Setting the pivot offset is often used when animating control nodes, as by default the pivot is on the top left at 0, 0. This looks weird when scaling a node on hover, for example. This new property allows you to set the ratio and let Godot calculate the actual pivot offset no matter the size. This means you don't have to set it manually or by code anymore. It's set and forget, no matter how the control changes size. This is something I'll use a lot. Two other UI features I really like are visualization of the margins in the editor when using a margin container and the customization of the tabs for tab container right in the editor. Godot node system is awesome, but it's easy to end up with huge trees with lots of nodes inside. This could become a bottleneck, but thankfully a fix just made very large trees much faster. That's it, that's the news. Faster for free, yay! Let's go back to 3D real quick with a big improvement to LOD generation. When importing a 3D mesh, Godot can generate different levels of details of your model. This allows displaying simpler version of meshes when they're far away, reducing the load on the GPU. This process has been greatly improved by allowing the algorithm to be run on separate components of your mesh, allowing to reduce vertices count even more while preserving shapes better. Godot 4.5 started using SDL for handling gamepad input, and this now enables more advanced features. Nintorch made a PR paving the way for supporting advanced gamepad features such as LEDs or motion sensors and more. Right now, just one other PR has been merged to support setting the LED colors, but there are already two others for motion sensors and DualSense adaptive triggers and custom joypad data packets. It could be even used to detect grip force, for example, and more stuff. Pretty exciting. While not really completely new, as Jolt was introduced in Godot 4.4 as the default physics engine, it was marked as experimental, and it's not anymore. It means we have enough information to see it as stable. It's important to note two things are still not really at feature parity with bullets. First, the joints interface is designed for bullets and doesn't allow you to set everything Jolt can do. And second, bodies modifying shapes when a body has multiple collision shapes can be super slow using Jolt. These two problems seem to be relatively niche for now, so you should be safe using Jolt for most use cases. In Godot 4.5, macOS was getting game embedding in the editor, and now it's turned for Linux Wayland to get it. Linux already has it when using X11, but Wayland was still lacking. If you're not familiar, X11 and Wayland are display servers, and Wayland is made to replace X11, which is pretty old now. It's really important to get features like these as more Linux distros are going or are already moving to Wayland. Continuing with rendering stuff, Direct3D 12 is now the default rendering driver for new projects when running on Windows. Godot 3 was using mostly OpenGL 2 and 3, and with the move to Godot 4, Vulkan was introduced as a newer and more performant rendering driver. It was supposed to be the holy grail that would run everywhere from what I understand, but the truth has been a little bit different. You might be familiar with Direct3D as it's the driver for Windows that you might have known as DirectX in the past. Direct3D support was added by W4Games and should run more smoothly on Windows, so it becomes the default selected driver on new projects. You can still access Vulkan, of course, and it should be at feature parity. I'll let you read in more details the various PRs if you're interested, but for most users, it should just be fine. Screen space reflection has been overhauled, which resulted in higher quality and better performance, which is going to rejoice 3D users. 2D is also getting some love, and most notably GPU batching has been improved, resulting in better performance ranging from 1.1x to 7x. You can read the pull request for more details. In the Godot 4.5 release video, I talked about DPI textures, basically allowing to use SVGs and re-rasterize them based on viewport and font oversampling parameters. The feature is now working with Polygon 2D too, which is pretty cool. And that's it for 4.6. Thanks again to the core team and all the contributors and people donating money. Godot continues to grow and I can't wait to see where it's going. There are way more features, fixes, and improvements I didn't cover, so I encourage you to take a look at the release post. There's a bunch of other cool and niche features you might enjoy. As always, if you want to support my work, you can find my course, my games, and my Patreon linked down below. I also have consultation calls available, so don't hesitate if you want to talk game dev, UI, and juice. Thanks again to boot.dev for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to get started today. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!